Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of On the Record here at the World Crypto Network with your host, Tone Vays. With us today is a core developer from a project called PIVX. And I wanted to talk to him. A lot of people have been curious about what PIVX is, how it works, and this would give us a chance to talk to him. So I am on with a man that goes by the name Presstab, who likes to remain anonymous, and we will ask him why that is. But Presstab, go ahead and say hi to everyone.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on your show, Tone. Good to be here.
Excellent. Now, let us start with you. Can you just tell us something about yourself? I know you can't disclose your name, but some other information to help our audience like see where you're coming from. Basically, where are you from? Are you a U.S. citizen? Do you live in the U.S.? Your age bracket, you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe you're in your teens, which would be very impressive. And also, like perhaps your ethnicity, white, black, Asian. And we'll start there, and then we'll briefly talk about your coding experience.
Okay, yeah. I live in the U.S. I live in a city called Salt Lake City in the state of Utah. I'm in my late 20s. I'm white. So that's sort of my demographic group. I'm, college educated. I have a degree in economics. But crypto is more of a hobby that's becoming, more of a full-time thing for me.
Gotcha. And how did you come to crypto? Like, what was your path here? And not your entire history, but like in general, like did you come through Bitcoin? Did another currency get you interested? Like when did you come into the space?
I first learned about Bitcoin it was either late 2012 or early 2013. And, I bought some at 12 or 13 bucks.
So that was the first time you bought it was for about 12 or 13.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you buy it in
unfortunately,
cash? Did you buy it like at a coffee shop in cash somewhere through local Bitcoins?
uh, no, I got it through Mount Gox.
Ah, okay, got it. Yeah, so you literally got in right on the edge because Bitcoin opened the year of 2013 at around $13. So
Mhm.
you would have kind of stayed in that area for a little bit. So you literally would have been December or January if that's the price you were getting in at.
Yeah, it was probably around there. I don't know the exact date, but um, unfortunately, I bought it to speculate, to buy from Mount Gox, sell it on PayPal or through eBay. You could make a little money, and that's what I did. And then I sort of forgot about it until it had that big rise at the end of 2013, where it got up to 1,000 the first time, and that's when I really started getting into it.
Yeah, you were in it just before me, just so you know. So you
Okay.
actually you've been in Bitcoin longer than I have. All right. So what did you do after? So what did you do? Like back in 2013, there was just very few altcoins. So now we're going into 2014. Were you already like a developer at that time because your background is economics? So when did you actually start becoming a developer?
So the Bitcoin and the altcoin world is sort of what helped propel me towards more of a software development path. Um, so at that time, the end of 2013, early 2014, um, I looked around as a lot of people did to see what altcoins are out there, and I got involved with a few, and I learned that it's open source and you could go online and see all the code. And I thought that was really cool. So I started just reading the code, tinkering around with it, seeing what did what. And, slowly I started learning more and more, and, started working on a few coins, and just sort of took it from there.
All right, so you recently learned to code. So you started like learning code around 2013, 14 then.
I mean, always sort of, you know, tinkered around with web development, so I had a general idea, but uh, this is really what pushed me towards getting serious about it. Uh, right now I'm in the middle of a master's degree in computer science, so I've come a long ways since 2013, but that's really what made me start getting serious about software development.
Okay, gotcha. And so what was it? So which altcoins did you really like back in 2014? Like what got well, like obviously you came here because of Bitcoin, but then Bitcoin wasn't for you, right? So you got interested because right here on your profile on the PIVX.org website, your proficiency is in proof of stake. So at what point did you decide that proof of stake is the future and not proof of work?
Well, I started. I bought a Bitcoin miner with a buddy, and after a few months, it didn't create any returns because the difficulty went up so fast. And so we said, okay, what else can we do? It looks like we can buy up a bunch of graphics cards and we can make a miner that will mine Litecoin and a few other coins. And so we did that. We made a bunch of Litecoin script miners, and then Dogecoin. When that came out, we started mining that, and then everybody had a script miner after a few months, and it was hard to make any money doing that. And so I was looking around. I found a few other coins. One of the coins that I really liked a lot was a coin called Hobo Nickels.
Wow, I'm not familiar with that one at all. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
It was sort of a goofy coin because obviously the name, uh, but it was really more there as almost more of a sandbox coin that you could tinker around with. And it was a proof of stake coin. It had 100% uh, basically interest rate, so it was pretty inflationary. Uh, but it was fun. I made a little bit of money off of it, but it wasn't a money maker. Uh, but the developer of that coin really helped me learn a few things. From there, I about a year later started my own coin.
Right. So he helped you what, like how to promote the coin and have it go up in price, and then like move on to another project. Like how did he actually help you?
Well, he was like, I guess you could call it the core developer, and I said, hey, I'll handle the website. So I did all of the website stuff, but as he got more and more busy, I started trying to do a little bit more of that, actual wallet code, and he would, give me pointers of, I had the hardest time figuring out how to compile these wallets. But he walked me through that, and he pointed me in the right direction of part of the problem is the code base. Even if you can read code, they are so large that you don't know where to look to find what. So he really helped me with that, and that.
So what is that developer still like believes in the hobo coin, still programming it, or did he move on to other coins?
No, it was sort of a hobby for him. He's not in crypto anymore. He's, in enterprise software development. So he really doesn't have time for it and just stopped. So as far as I know, that coin is, pretty near death right now.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so so you do believe that proof of stake is well, obviously you believe that it's a blockchain, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So what is your definition of a blockchain? And I'm really curious. So go ahead and tell us what is a blockchain?
I mean, it's how I think of a blockchain as an immutable ledger of it. of some type of transaction. It doesn't have to be currency, but that each time the ledger gets appended with a block, it's chained together with the previous record by using some type of hashing algorithm, so that, you know, if you change one thing in any of the records downstream, then upstream your hash will change, and you'll know that something's been changed. So to me, a blockchain is an immutable ledger. That's, you know,
what is making it immutable?
well, it's immutable because if you change anything downstream, you know, each additional block contains the previous block's hash in the header. So the block hash will change. If one block changes, then it will change that block's hash, and that block's hash is in the next block's hash. So, you know, it changes everything if one block changes, so it's immutable.
Well, if it changes everything, that's actually the opposite of immutable, right? Because if you can change it and then it just changes downstream, that removes the immutability. Wouldn't you agree?
I guess I'm not totally sure what you mean by that. I guess you're saying you rewrite the chain, or
right? I'm saying
all those.
What prevents that from happening, right? Like I understand that it's immutable as long as nothing changes, right? But what is actually preventing something from changing downstream? Like, let's say an hour ago, because Vivix has 1 minute blocks, which is very, very quick. Well, I'm curious, why didn't you go smaller? Like Ethereum has 3-second blocks, no? Or I think Steemit has 3-second blocks. Do you know why PIVX decided not to beat Steemit, to go with 2-second blocks?
Well, let me answer that first question first. What keeps the chain from changing are the consensus rules and the proof system. So for proof of stake, that proof system is built on the whole proof of stake ecosystem, and for proof of work, it's built on the proof of work system. And so you come up with some type of chain trust score, and whatever has the highest trust score wins and keeps the chain how it is. And, you know, for different coins are different, but they'll only let you rewrite so much history within the wallet and have those actually be able to be considered orphans. So that's sort of how I look at that.
Okay, well, you see my screen right now, right? On your end?
Let's see. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So this is actually the first. You may not be familiar with this. Maybe you are. So let us know. So this is actually documented evidence of the first time the word blockchain was used by Satoshi Nakamoto. And if you read that, he basically referred to something, a blockchain, in the same sentence as proof of work. So to him, you needed to solve the proof of work in order to make something immutable, and he coined the term blockchain. And this might also explain why you found it very, very frustrating trying to mine, at first Bitcoin and then script coins, and you quickly found yourself being outcompeted by the market because you couldn't compete in creating more coins. So do you think that was the real innovation that took place? Or do you think proof of stake would surpass proof of work as the innovative technology?
You know, I'm not against proof of work or against Bitcoin by any means. I think that it's great. And proof of work did solve a lot of problems. One of the biggest problems that it solves that proof of stake has a harder time solving is proof of work can sort of be seen as a de facto timestamp in a way. You really don't. It's sort of complicated to explain, but if so much work is being done, that a certain amount of time has passed, and that's something that proof of stake has a little bit harder time doing. But whether it's only a blockchain, if it's proof of work, I don't think that's the case. I think there just needs to be some type of good consensus system that is clearly defined and prevents those major reorganizations from occurring.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's talk about the coin a little bit. So yeah, so actually, like in the we'll get to the purple paper as well. It looks like I think Jakim published the purple paper, and 7hacks originally published the bitcointalk.org post introducing PIVX back in November 2015. I really wish I had the time to prep more and read over, but that was a very, very long thread. Point out that some of the people that were originally involved with the coin are still with the coin, which is fairly important. So let's, before we jump into the features, let's talk about what the coin is, right? So when I took a look at the website and I went to coin configuration, so the algorithm came from Cork. Is that the Cork token that I remember, like Max Kaiser was pitching back in like 2014, 13? Is that the same Cork, or is there a different Cork that I'm confusing this with?
Yeah, I think it's the same. I mean, that was so there's an initial proof of work phase, and that was in Cork's algorithm. But now the block header is still hashed with Cork, but proof of stake actually uses just SHA 256D.
Okay. So what was it about Cork that were you there for the initial launch of this coin, or you joined later?
I knew about it. I knew 7hacks before. I've done a lot of work as sort of freelance coin developer, so a lot of different coins have hired me to do things, and he wanted me to join on and be the developer. But it was sort of his vision and some other people's visions, and I said, I'm not just going to do it for free. Just let me know when you have work for me to do, and I can help you with that. So they really launched it without me, and I didn't start working on it until a few months later.
A few months after the launch?
Yes.
So you were still in fairly early?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know if 7hacks worked on other tokens besides Pivix before or after? Well, probably not after, because Pivix is just now starting to pump. Do you know if he actually worked on Cork? Because Cork launched a year prior to Pivix.
I don't think as far as I know, I don't think he has any relation to Cork. I mean, from my understanding, it was just launched as just a pretty vanilla clone or fork of Dash coin. So I don't know if Dash has this same Cork algorithm in it, but I was under the impression that they have a lot of overlap in almost everything.
I don't remember if Dash used a combination of multiple proof of works. Obviously, they didn't work very well because of the Instamine, and we'll talk about that. You're not a fan of the Instamine either, right?
I mean, honestly, I don't get too involved with sort of inner coin politics, but my view is that you should, launch a coin as fairly as you can, which usually means, you don't ramp it up as fast as you can. You try to do it fair.
Right. So the Instamine was basically pretty scammy on the part of Dash. I mean,
Uh,
look, I was a, I mean, I don't want to disclose too much information, but I've been a long fan. I was a long fan of Dash for a while, but then I learned about the Instamine, so it became a major problem.
yeah, I mean, you could make that argument. I don't know all of the details, so it's I'll reserve judgment on that one.
Okay, so but you don't think that the future of PIVX is well, you don't think that the future of PIVX will mimic the future of Cork, right?
No,
Okay. And do you know what the problem with Cork actually was, or no? Like
no.
why didn't Cork continue to go up? Why did Cork like crash after its pump?
I'm honestly not too familiar with Quark, so I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, that's fine. So let's get back to like the original the spec of the PIVX as it's listed, and it wasn't even PIVX at the time, right? It went by a different name, correct?
Yeah, it went by a name called Darknet. So
Okay.
honestly, I think that that was a little bit of the problem with the coin originally is how do you even Google that?
Yeah, that's difficult. Well, that's my current problem with Dash, right? I mean, Darkcoin was very easy to Google. How do you Google Dash?
Yeah, yep.
Right? So are they trying to like mask something by naming it Dash, and it's like such a nightmare to Google or to hashtag or anything?
Mm-hmm.
Completely obscured, right?
Yep. So
But that wasn't the problem when Darknet launched in the beginning, right?
yeah, so it's sort of the opposite scenario of they went from, a hard to find name to a very easy, unique to find name.
Okay, got it. So they were. I'm just making my own notes so I don't lose track. What was the exact name? Was it Dark? It was Darknet, right?
Yeah, Darknet. So I mean,
Darknet, and
you
it was
Google that and
obviously
it'll
very obscure at first.
yeah.
And when did the name change? Do you remember? You must have been around for the name change, right?
Oh yeah, I was around. I think that was I don't know, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. It wasn't that
Right.
long ago, but it wasn't just a name change. They had, all the graphics changed and
Right.
they
So in February 15, the coin launched, and obviously under a very obscure name. And then about 3 months ago, so let's say uh, February of this year.
yeah, that sounds about right.
All right. So then February of this year. Right, hold on, let me get my timelines right here. So here's PIVX. So it launched back in 2014. Oh wow.
No,
No, I'm
I think
sorry.
it's
Back in
2016.
that's 2000. Okay, so you launched in February 2016, about a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then February 2017, there was a name change because the original name was kind of obscure and very hard to get info on, right?
Yep.
We'll get back to that in a second. So also on the spec right here, it says proof of work. So it says that there was a 60,000 pre-mine on block one. I'm a little confused. So how does that pre-mine work?
So I wasn't, around for that specific part of it, but apparently they wanted it cost 10,000 PIVX to for a master node. So they wanted to have some master nodes going. So they had a pre-mine of 60,000 to have 6 master nodes up and running so that everything can function as they needed right away. And then I forget the exact block that this happened, but once I ported it over to proof of stake, we changed the transaction method, not the transaction method, but the minting method, so that transaction fees are not given back to the miner anymore. They're consumed by the network. And eventually they basically burned those 60,000 by putting it into a transaction fee.
Okay, and when did you port it over to proof of stake from proof of work?
That had to have been maybe summer.
Like a month, like your best guess for a month. So like August, like July, August 2016.
I'd probably say July. Yeah, July 28th,
Oh, you know what?
2016 is when it started.
I might actually be able to help you here.
I have it here just on the PIVX website saying July 28th.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So in May, the proof of work reward got reduced. I'm actually seeing that right here. And in July 28th, it was full POS. So right now, there are 53 million coins about, right?
Close to that, yeah.
Close to that, right? Yeah, because we see it right here, 53 million. So on May 15th, so the coin launches February 2016. In May, so like 3-4 months later, the proof of work reward got reduced, setting the path to POS. So do you remember like about how many coins existed and the proof of work got reduced, like in the amount of coins miners were making? Do you remember any details of that event on May 15th?
I don't know the details. I think we can look it up. It looks like on the block that it changed, there were 38.1 million at the time.
38.1 million when proof of work got reduced.
Not on, well, when it switched to proof of stake.
When it switched to proof of stake, there were 31 million. So when it got reduced, it was a few months before that.
Well, I don't know, because that roadmap is giving the same block for both of those.
Oh yeah, that is interesting, right? So May 15th, proof of work reduction on the same block as the July 28th proof of stake conversion. Okay, so somebody on your end might want to check that out. I didn't even notice that. Good eyes. That's why you're a developer. I couldn't hack it. I couldn't hack it as a developer, man. I was terrible. I started engineering, and then I couldn't stand it.
Let's see if we can just pull this out of the. Okay, I just have the code up right now. The actual proof of stake, the last proof of work block was block 259,200.
That's the last proof of work block.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that means that the July 28th block is wrong. It should be higher.
So that was on August 7th, 2016, was that last proof of work block. And at that time, there were 42.999 million PIVX.
Excellent. So now we're going to go back to the chart, right? And we would say that in August, well, this is October, right? So we got to go. So in the beginning of August, the price of the coin was still 1/3 of a penny. And the market cap was barely existent. So that's when it became proof of stake. And hence, all the early miners that mined it back when it was darknet and very difficult to Google and nobody knew about it, it had become proof of stake, and it stayed proof of stake all the way up to this point. And from what I understand, very soon, if not already, the block reward is being reduced to only 5% per year or something like that?
Yeah, it's not a percent base. It's actually just a static reward, but right now...
Right, it's a static reward that's currently approximately 4-point-something% of all the coins per year.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, it's pretty close to that. So right now there are a total of 10 coins given out per block. That's split between a budget proposal reward that is allowed to be voted on and given to a proposal. 10% of that goes towards a proposal. And then the rest, the remaining 9 coins, are split between the master node and the staker.
Okay, well, we'll get to the master node in 1 minute, right? But you do realize that when the coin went proof of stake, no one knew about this coin. So the only people that really get to benefit from proof of stake were the people that mined it early on, back when it wasn't even called PIVX. And this is, well, when did the master nodes come into existence? Were the master nodes always, they were always there from the beginning, correct?
Yeah, they were always there. I mean, that's why there was that initial 60,000 pre-mine in there, was for master nodes.
Okay, I see. And then you flip to POS, right? And now, unlike Dash, which is still 60%, or like 45% proof of work, proof of stake, this coin became fully proof of stake, so that those that had the coins in the first 3 to 4 months of existence of this blockchain, they would get a higher reward for taking on all the risk in the early days, and now they would be rewarded with a proof of stake model of just paying them for holding on to the coins.
Yeah, so a few things there. I mean, first of all, you look at that chart and you had a good 6 or 7 months after to buy it for the same price, so it's not like it just took off right after that.
That is true,
second,
but as you said earlier, no one knew about Darknet, and it was so obscure, and it was very hard to Google. So how do you actually expect a lot of people to jump on board in the early days?
Yeah, it's hard. It was really mostly people that were part of that Bitcoin talk community, and that's really what it started out as most coins do. And then it morphed into something. There was word of mouth that spread, and the rebranding really helped for it. But one other quick thing that you said about Dash is a certain percent proof of stake. I mean, in my opinion, Dash isn't proof of stake at all.
Okay, go on. I'm very curious.
Just because you have to have a master node that locks up a certain amount of coins and they get a reward for that, doesn't mean that they're proof of stake, at least in my opinion, because the master nodes have little to nothing to do with the consensus building. I mean, they're still proof of work. They have miners, and the miners and the difficulty and all of that is what is determining the consensus at the end of the day, at least as far as I understand it. And they're giving rewards to people, but to me, I think of proof of stake as being that consensus algorithm. So you compare something like Dash to something like Purecoin that has both proof of work and proof of stake, and the stakers and the proof of work miners can both publish blocks. Master nodes cannot publish blocks. Only miners can.
I'm actually not sure what master nodes do other than vote. Can you just tell us the difference between the master nodes in Vivix and the master nodes in Dash? Because I was under a wrong impression for a long time that the master nodes would use the coins in a master node for mixing transactions to make them anonymous. And I recently learned that all the master nodes that I own don't actually do that. Those coins aren't involved in helping mixing my tokens with other people's tokens. So do the master nodes in PIVX actually are open to the network and use those coins to mix as a mixer to help protect users?
This area of PIVX sort of departs a little bit from my expertise, so I only have sort of an abstract view of what's going on here. a few of the other developers focus on this area a little bit more. We actually have a developer that works on Dash as well, and I don't know Dash enough to really make a comparison here. But as far as I understand it, the master nodes are involved in pretty much the mixing that you mentioned earlier, and sort of the coin join style mixing.
The master nodes on PIVX.
Yeah.
Okay, because I have to assume that you own master nodes on PIVX. I mean, why wouldn't you? You were there from the beginning. I mean, I have a bunch of master nodes on Dash because I was involved in Dash early, but now I really don't like Dash, so I'm really deciding if now is a good time to liquidate all of them and set up master nodes in PIVX.
I personally don't have any master nodes.
Really?
I do on testnet, but I don't on mainnet.
How come?
I prefer to stake my coins instead of use master nodes.
Interesting. So why is that?
I just think it's easier for me. I think and for me, what's more, I have a sort of a different view than a lot of the other members of PIVX and even the development team. Proof of stake is the most essential part of the coin. That's what is building the consensus. And so, the more people we can have staking, the harder it is to stake. And the harder it is to stake, the harder it is to launch any type of attack against the coin. So for me, it's most important to stake rather than hold it in masternodes. And the way that rewards work is it gives a pretty generous reward to the stakers. So I see that I might be even making a little bit more than I would be making if I had a masternode.
Okay, I see. And let's just jump into a few other features here. So I see Swift XT, and I'm fairly familiar with Swift. As Swift is a global fiat currency transfer system. So you named your transaction Swift TX, and you don't think that name convention is a little bit obscure?
I'm not exactly sure how that name originated, but it's really just the same thing as Dash's instant transaction, I think they call it. So as far as the name goes, I don't really know much about the name.
Okay, and all right, oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, I knew. I thought I saw 4.8% somewhere. PIVX currently has a monthly decreasing block reward inflation, with it reaching its final low inflation rate of approximately 4.8% beginning in May 2017. So right now, as everyone is learning about Dash, it's gonna have sorry, not Dash. My bad. PIVX. I'm talking about Dash too much. Right now, as everyone is learning about PIVX, you are about to reach its lowest inflation percentage rate for the future of PIVX. You don't think that's problematic? That now that people are interested, it will be difficult for new people to earn any more PIVX, and it's only going to go to those who have already a large stake in the system?
I think there is some concern there, and we've actually had a lot of conversation about it among the developer group, and as well as in the Slack channels with everybody else. There are a lot of people arguing that we need to raise that back up a little bit, and we're trying to figure out a good balance between actual inflation and rewards. So you want to find that balance, and I think that could change in the future. We're working on getting a good governance system implemented,
Oh yeah,
And
we're
so
gonna talk
that's
about
one of the things.
we're gonna talk about that in 1 minute.
Well, just I guess my point is that's one of the things that could definitely be looked at and use a governance system to change.
Right. Oh, so okay, so you can use a governance system because I we're going to talk about your governance system and why and why you think it's so much better than Dash's governance system. So you're saying you would be able to change the inflation rate in order to accommodate all of these people coming into PIVX now with the higher inflation rate with the governance system that you're helping put together.
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, got it. Okay, so the inflation rate is a variable that could be changed with governance.
I don't know if it's necessarily going to be automated. We could make it automated if we wanted to, and once the governance system votes for that. But the development team's going to follow whatever the governance system tells us to follow.
Okay, and before we get to the governance system, I just wanted to again, people are seeing my screen. This video will launch, and this is the purple paper. I know white papers are so old now, right? You gotta.
Yeah.
It's just silly, right? There's so many other colors. I mean, why the hell? Why are we using white at the time? Friggin' Satoshi, right? Got everyone hyped up over the color white. Yeah. So here's the paper, and it does talk about DNet, the darknet, I guess, and how it switched over from proof of stake to proof of work. So if anyone's curious, you can go ahead and read the paper. We're going to talk about the price after, and then we're going to talk a little bit. So let's talk about the revolutionary governance system that you personally have presented. And you're suggesting, besides having masternodes and stakers, and it sounds like you're more of a staker, you're also introducing a concept of vote nodes. And this would be the new revolutionary governance system, because in Dash, only masternodes get to make all the calls. But in your system, it would be split between masternodes, stakers, and vote nodes. So go ahead and tell us why this is the new revolutionary governance system for cryptocurrencies.
Well, this is my first proposal at it, and I think it makes a lot of sense. One thing that everybody wants to have in their governance is, well, maybe not everybody. There's coins out there that think a little bit differently. But I personally, and a lot of the people I've talked to in PIVX, we want to make sure that everybody has a voice in the governance system. And so, if it's just masternodes, that means that a select few, I don't know how many actual people own masternodes, but I know there are plenty of people that have quite a few masternodes. So,
you suspect right here that early PIVX adopters have some of the people have over 50 masternodes each out of the 2,000 masternodes, and that number could be 100 plus. I mean, we just don't know.
Sure, yeah.
Because it sounds like over 50% of the supply of PIVX was created in the first 3 months or so, and it went proof of stake soon after that.
Well, closer to 8 months, but yeah, so we don't know how many people own how many masternodes, but for me, it doesn't take too much speculating to say, hey, I know a couple people that own 50 plus. How big is that actual group of people in the masternode group, and how many people own how much? So to me, it makes more sense to say, okay, let's just lump them all together in their own, voting block or voting group, that represents the masternodes and only gets a third of the vote. Masternodes are important, but we don't want the whole coin dictated by maybe a group of a couple hundred people, or maybe less, maybe more. So that's why it's good to only give them a third of the vote.
Okay, and you're also proposing vote nodes, which sound just like master nodes, only they don't mix your coins, and you only need 100 PIVX instead of 10,000 PIVX to run a vote node. But it also looks like they receive the same reward proportionally to a master node. So, what is um, then wouldn't it make sense for everyone to have a vote node instead of a master node because you can have them in smaller batches? You're making the same stake out of them. You have voting rights, and you don't have to give up your coins for mixing.
So I actually said a vote node should not receive a proportional reward of the master node reward. So it's important that vote nodes aren't more economic than a master node.
Oh,
My
okay, I see it
opinion,
right there. Yeah, the word "not" right there. Okay, so
and
a vote node should receive less than a master node reward
yeah,
proportionally.
so my opinion, as I sort of touched on earlier, I think the staker should get the highest reward. I think there should be the largest incentive to stake because that is the security of the coin is based on staking. Master node should be next. They should get a large reward. And then vote nodes should, in my opinion, and I propose some numbers on here, but this is up for sort of the community to decide, and we'll have some conversations about it. But I think a vote node should, barely get enough reward to even make it worth holding a vote node. Really, a vote node should not be for the purpose of getting rewards. It should be more of the purpose of your reward is that you are represented in the vote, where you probably wouldn't in some of the other coin governance systems out there. So why I say 100 PIV is because that's pretty accessible to the average user. You can usually get 100 PIV. So you would be able to participate in the governance system under the vote node group.
Okay, I see. And this would be a much more robust governance model than Dash. And I've actually, because a lot of people have been comparing PIVX to Dash, and I personally know that several people are kind of, from the Dash community are not only happy, they're not too thrilled with the Dash community, and other people are kind of upset at PIVX because it looks like you're stealing a lot of their value. And here is a very interesting Steemit post. Do you like Steemit, by the way? What do you think of Steemit, since I'm about to read something from Steemit?
I think it's interesting. It was one of those things I saw within the first couple of weeks after it launched, and I said, this is a good idea, but too bad most crypto things just turn into nothing. And so I'm glad that it's doing well. I really am.
So you think Steemit is doing well?
I don't know the exact details, but I mean, if you're looking at a post on there right now, I assume it's doing well enough.
But did you ever buy any Steemit tokens? Did you ever get involved in that cryptocurrency?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. Why not?
I'm not too much of a buyer and holder of cryptocurrencies, really. I am more just focused on the development side of it. I've been doing freelance, but now I'm sort of put the freelance to the side. I'm working on PIVX instead.
And you're getting paid in PIVX to code for PIVX.
Yeah. Okay. So I had been at first when I did the proof of stake, I said, hey guys, this is what I do with everybody. I know you guys think your coin is going to turn into the next big thing, and it did, but I want to get paid in Bitcoin because I don't know what your coin's going to turn into, and I'm doing this for extra money that I can use on the side. So I usually make people pay me in Bitcoin.
So right now you're developing PIVX, but you request your pay in Bitcoin.
Early on I did, and then once PIVX started growing, I said, okay, yeah, you guys, I believe in the coin now. I want to be on board. So
Okay, so now you're getting paid in PIVX.
yeah.
Is your salary denominated in PIVX, or is it denominated in US dollars or Bitcoin? I'm just curious.
So we don't have any active payment right now. We were given sort of a lump sum, enough to keep us happy, and we could stake with it. We could do masternodes. It was enough to
Okay, I'm
really
not.
mess
I don't
around
want
with
you.
it. But
I'm not going to ask you how much it was, but I'm just curious. Was the amount denominated in dollars, Bitcoin, or PIVX? Like, did you
it was in
negotiate?
Vivix.
No, not how you got paid. The denomination. Like, did you
Yeah, I
let's say
understand, and it
it
was
was
denominated
$10,000,
in it was
right?
denominated in PIVX. There was really no real negotiations. They did.
Oh,
So
so they offered. Let's say you will get 50,000 PIVX for so and so amount of work.
yeah, similar to that concept.
Okay, got it. And
They
when
just
did that?
came with an amount and said, "Hey, this is our proposal. You can get this. This is the type of work that we need to keep being done,
And you will get X amount of PIVX.
and we're giving you this up front, and then you'll get this at the end."
And it was denominated in PIVX, not denominated. So I
Yeah.
denominate my services in Bitcoin, and before that, when I had a real job, I used to, denominate my salary in dollars. So this was all in PIVX. And when did that contract come out? I'm just like when were you offered this contract? How long ago?
So originally, I was doing it in dollars when I was doing it as sort of a freelance guy and making them pay me in Bitcoin.
Right, you denominated in
But
dollars, being paid in Bitcoin, but then they
yeah,
came to you with an offer
yep,
denominated in PIVX.
yep. And so they came to me with that offer, and I just said, "Yeah, let's
Do you
go with that.
remember
That sounds good to me."
around what month that offer came?
I think that must have been 2 or 3 months ago.
Two or three
It
months
wasn't.
ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
So this year, we're talking like January, February.
Yeah, it was pretty close to the name change.
Oh, okay, so around the name change. That makes sense, actually. Okay, got it. Okay, so let me get back to Steemit there for a second, since you're not since you were never really Steemit was never really your thing, so you don't know much about it. Otherwise, this could have been a nice little side discussion. So let me read something that someone wrote. I don't know if you can see the screen, but this will also be audio, which is why it's good for me to read it. So this is what this author wrote. When a former Dash guy, the Dash guy is the Dash guy's name, the Dash guy, writes, and quote, Evan Duffield lacks a spine and a moral compass to do the right thing with Dash. Ryan, Baby Giraffe, nickname, Taylor, and Daniel Diaz are wannabe failed banksters with a selfish endgame that influence Evan heavily. End quote. He's maybe overly harsh, but read this article on Steemit and judge for yourself. What the Dash guy has done with his angry writing reveals the truth. A lack of honesty and transparency sucks. And then he goes on, actually, he mentions PIVX. That's why I wrote this thing. And then he goes on and writes, whoa, what a great breath of fresh air. PIVX without a centralized control, and basically talks good thing about PIVX. So it was interesting that all the bad things said about Evan Duffield, and apparently he has two wannabe failed banksters advising him. Don't you hate banksters? Like all those guys that worked at like Bear Stearns and JP Morgan, aren't they like the most dishonest, like evil people around?
I don't personally take that view of people that work in finance. I actually work in finance. I'm not on Wall Street or anything, but there comes a time where we do deal with Wall Street style banks. It's just hard to categorize an entire industry or entire companies into groups of people that you hate or that you don't hate, so I think there's bad actors in every.
I respect that. I respect your answer. That was that was a good answer. I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, there's here where I'm at, Salt Lake City. Goldman Sachs has really expanded here. It's their second largest location in North America. The first, obviously, being New York. And I have friends that work for Goldman and stuff. I mean, I don't want to work there, but they're just normal people. It's more of the upper leadership and those type of people that can run into some of those issues. But
gotcha.
That's a side point.
No, that's good. You don't fall into this like libertarian viewpoint that every bankster is evil. And I don't know if you paid attention to how much crap Blockstream got. You know what Blockstream is, right?
Yeah, I know sort of the abstract.
All right. Well, how familiar are you with Bitcoin core development?
I'd say I have an all right understanding. I look at their GitHub quite a bit, but I don't have enough time to keep up with all of the drama. I'll say that.
Well, if you keep an eye on their GitHub, can you like name a couple of high-profile Bitcoin core developers?
Yeah, there's Greg Maxwell, Peter Todd, Peter Wiley. I know sort of user names more than I know actual names. The Blue Matt, I think, is one of the names, but I guess I'm familiar with some of the the main committers on there. I see them committing.
Okay. Oh, cool. All right, so let's close out this interview. I know you're busy. So I happened to find I went over to Reddit and I just took a look at the PIVX subreddit, and so there was an interesting post that just came out today. Actually, people are talking about buying at the high and what everyone is thinking, and when people are buying. So it looks like if many people managed to buy it at $2 and above, and lots of people are calling for buying this dip, that it's gonna go back up there and make all new highs. So what do you think? What do you think the price is going? Do you remember what the all-time high was? I saw someone bought at 212, so I'm not sure if that was the ultimate high or it was actually higher than that at one point.
I think that's probably close to the high. I think I saw it one time up at 210, but somewhere pretty close to that, I think, is the all-time high. I don't know where it's going. I like to think that what I'd love to happen is for it to level out and stay in this 150 to 250 range for quite a bit and slowly work its way up from there. Build a solid base, maybe shake out some of the large holders that want to cash some out and then grow from there.
Okay, so you think this is a good so you're actually happy that like a lot early adopters that have that are sitting on a pile of PIVX that they were able to mine early in the day before it became proof of stake. So you actually would like to see this coin spread and all those early adopters to get out and spread the love.
Yeah, from my standpoint, not even just from a pricing standpoint, but for the safety of the coin, since it's based on proof of stake, the more decentralized you can have that staking, the better it will be, because there are less, points of failure. If there's somebody that owns 10% of the staking power and they've been staking and then all of a sudden they go offline, is the difficulty going to fall 10%? So, the more decentralized the holdings are, the better, I think.
Okay, so I'm just curious, you don't have to answer the question. So on a percentage basis, how much PIVX would you say you have sold that you were given in working contracts versus how much PIVX you retained, like percentage-wise? Have you already sold over half of your PIVX, or are you still holding on to like 90% of everything you've made in PIVX?
I sold, and it's hard for
About.
you guys to know what it is, but I probably sold around 7 to 10% during the rise, and only transferred a little of that to myself. And I actually have buy orders in right now that some of them have been hit. So I guess I don't know why I don't usually do this, but I played day trader a little bit on this, trying to help it stabilize where it's at now, but we'll see.
Okay, so you're basically saying that about 85 to 90% of PIVX that you've earned in salary denominated in PIVX, you're still holding on to that PIVX.
Yeah. I
And
mean, I'm
you've
holding.
been trading that PIVX as well.
No, most of it's staking, but that 10% or so that I said, that is what I sent to the exchange.
Oh, okay, got it. So I'm just curious because I know finance people have like some laws against this, but you don't see it as like a conflict of interest that people that are developing the, a token also. I mean, you do have insider knowledge on the future of the token, and also having like free anonymous rain to trade that token, and like you mentioned earlier, stabilize the price.
Um, I don't really see it that way because everything is almost completely transparent. There's next to nothing that we know as a development group that everybody else doesn't know. I mean, everybody knows what we're working on next. Um, there's there, and honestly, the price, it seems to me, has little or nothing to do with what we're doing as developers. Um, if we're releasing a new version of the wallet, it doesn't have any impact on price. So I don't think fixing a bug or two gives me any really inside knowledge.
Okay, so if I'm sitting on, let's say, 5 to 10 master nodes in Dash, uh, give me your like short elevator pitch as to why I should sell those and convert them into PIVX master nodes or voting nodes.
Well, I mean, it just depends. If you're happy with Dash and it's been treating you great, then that's fine. Stay there. I'm not against Dash at all. I think, a lot of our code is from Dash. So I think they're doing a good job. I just think that Dash is not made for normal people. It's, their governance system is sort of made to be for just a select group of people. So do you want to be part of a coin and a network of people that continues to grow and is working on unique solutions, as well as implementing even better anonymous protocols within the next few months? Or do you want to be on a coin that is based on a select group of people? I don't know how diverse their masternode holdings are, but you can only speculate that if it is how most masternode coins are, it's only a handful of people that their votes matter. So we're working on making it inclusive for everybody and even more anonymous than it is now. So I'd definitely say it's well worth it to pick up some PIVX master nodes or vote nodes, or better yet, come stake your coins.
So, so, so how would you feel if Dash took your governance proposal and adopted it to Dash and created all of these vote nodes to help, in their governance structure to follow your lead?
I think a lot of people wouldn't be very happy about that, but I think that'd be great. That's what open source is all about, isn't it?
Who do you think wouldn't be happy about that?
Well, I think some of the holders of PIVX would be like, hey, they're just copying us and ripping us off. But from my point of view, like, I think I try not to be critical of any of these other competing coins, whether it's, Dash, Monero, or any of the other, big similar coins. Everybody is putting a shitload of work into making these coins awesome. So why wouldn't you cherry pick the most efficient or the best models from where you can? That's my point of view. We want to be doing our own development as well, but if another coin comes up with something that's clearly efficient or just an awesome model, I don't see why we wouldn't, use that. It's sort of what open source is based on in my mind.
All right, no, great. I mean, I would love to see that, the ultimate irony, because right now all I hear is Dash people complaining that PIVX copied them, and that's exactly what you just said. PIVX people would say if Dash adopted your revolutionary governance idea.
Yeah, I mean, some people would say it. I wouldn't say it, but that's, people have their own opinion. But I wouldn't have any problem with it at all.
All right. Well, on that note, I think I got all of my questions answered. Would you like to do any other plugs where people can find you, or your GitHub? Maybe talk about, I don't know, anything, your closing thoughts before I let you go.
Yeah, I mean, I just say, anybody that's been listening to this, check us out on Slack, pivx.slack.org. There's a lot of people there, tons of channels. Also, if you're a developer, we would love to hear your ideas or see what you can help us work on. So come to our Slack group, visit the website, pivx.org. And yeah, you can get all the information you need.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Presstab, for coming on. And maybe we can follow up in like 6 months to a year. We'll see where the coin is.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. So this was another episode of On the Record. I do see some comments coming in asking me how come this was an episode of On the Record and not an episode of Crypto Scam. And I will be able to, I will answer this question very, very simply. The podcast Crypto Scam is coming back. The difference between the podcasts is on the Record, I actually interview a person from the project itself, while in Crypto Scam, it's me and another skeptic of that project, hopefully someone smarter than me and someone more knowledgeable of the project as me, where we get to share our thoughts on that project without it being turned into a debate. Okay, so that's the main difference between these two podcasts, and Crypto Scam is definitely coming back. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I know I enjoyed asking those questions. You do have to throw a little bit of irony into these. I mean, I'm having a great time with these interviews. If you are curious on my final thoughts on PIVX, and I only learned about PIVX this week, all of my research was just done an hour before this interview. And my closing thoughts are fairly simple. When you have a token, as explained in this interview, that started in a very obscure, not very popular or Googleable way, like Darknet or DNet coin. And all of the mining is done back when it was worthless, and then it turns into proof of stake back when it was worthless. And then it has this pump. And as also was explained on this interview, this is a chance for those early adopters to pretty much get out. And my final thoughts on this is, I mean, here's Cork, right? And Cork was even mentioned in Where is it? Right here in the description of PIVX. And then there is a name change, and then there is a hype cycle. Also similar to Steemit, when all the mining in Steemit was done in the first month. And then by the time people hear about Steemit, at that point, it is fully proof of stake for those that knew about it and mined it early. But I will let other people make up their minds. I mean, you have this whole interview. And on this note, we did have about 180 live viewers. Thank you very much for tuning in. I was your host, Tone Vays. You can catch me here on the World Crypto Network or on my own YouTube channel, along with my website, libertylifetrail.com. All right. Thank you very much, guys.